The ceasefire in Gaza, barely 10 days old, is now trembling on the knife edge of collapse. What began as a fragile pause in 2 years of bloodshed has descended into recrimination, airstrikes, and mutual accusations of betrayal. The promise of peace is fading beneath the smoke of Rafah and Khan Yunis. Israel claims that Hamas violated the truce first, that militants fired anti-tank missiles and gunfire at its troops in Rafah, killing 2 soldiers, Major Yaniv Kula and Staff Sergeant Itali Yavets. In response, Israel launched a wave of airstrikes across Gaza, striking what it calls terror targets, over 100 sites from weapons caches to tunnel shafts. Hamas denies involvement, insisting it no longer has fighters in Rafah. It says the incident was likely the work of independent militia or rival clans operating outside its command, but truth in Gaza is elusive. What is certain is that civilians are once again paying the price. Hospital sources report over 40 deaths, including women and children. In the town of al-Jawaidah, Israeli bombs killed Yahya al-Mahbouh, senior commander of Hamas's elite Jabalia battalion, alongside several civilians caught in the blast. North of there, in Nasrirat, 3 more were killed. The hospitals are full again. The funerals have resumed. Hamas accuses Israel of committing 6 separate breaches of the ceasefire, targeting civilians, mutilating bodies, blocking aid, and failing to release an accurate list of Palestinian detainees. Israel, meanwhile, insists that it is Hamas that has violated the deal and that it is enforcing the ceasefire through force of arms. The very term enforcement has become a grim irony, a ceasefire maintained through bombardment. The context of this renewed violence is chaos within Gaza itself. Hamas, weakened and fractured, has been cracking down on rival militias and clans, some of which were reported to have Israeli backing. The emergence of the so-called popular forces under Yasser Abu Shahbab has provoked internal firefights that blur the line between civil conflict and insurgency. Israel has allegedly protected these groups east of the Yellow Line, a demarcation roughly marking its withdrawal zones, allowing them to operate as local auxiliaries. Hamas has retaliated with summary executions of alleged collaborators. Gaza is bleeding from within as much as from above. President Trump's peace plan, once hailed as a diplomatic triumph, now lies in tatters. His 20-point revival plan promised an international stabilization force and a permanent ceasefire, yet even as the bombs fell, Trump seemed to retreat from his own blueprint, telling Fox News that Palestinians could be rehoused throughout the region, in Egypt and Jordan. Both countries swiftly rejected the idea. For many observers, the language was alarmingly close to the rhetoric of expulsion, an echo of the darkest chapter of Middle Eastern history. The Israeli government, meanwhile, has rebranded the conflict. On Sunday, Benjamin Netanyahu's cabinet voted to rename it the War of Revival, a phrase intended to project strength and purpose, but Israelis themselves are divided. In Tel Aviv, at Hostage Square, the families of captives gathered to remind their government of its failures. Inav Zangauka, whose son Matan was recently released, accused the state of abandoning its people on October the 7th, 2023, the day that ignited this war. Her speech drew tears and applause, but also underscored a truth. The war may have been renamed, but the trauma remains unchanged, and the finger of blame points at Netanyahu's government. Internationally, America is scrambling to hold the deal together. Vice President J.D. Vance, Jared Kushner, and Special Envoy Steve Witkoff are flying to Israel this week in an attempt to salvage what remains of the ceasefire. Egypt and Qatar, the original mediators, have warned that the situation could collapse entirely without immediate restraint from both sides. Yet both sides have their grievances. Hamas still holds the remains of 16 Israeli hostages, insisting that ongoing fighting makes recovery impossible. Israel has suspended humanitarian aid in Gaza, even for medical emergencies, leaving convoys stranded at Rafah. The Gaza Health Ministry says over 67,000 Palestinians have died since 2023. The United Nations' own experts confirmed famine months ago. Now, with the aid corridor closed again, even starvation has become politicized. In Gaza's shattered neighborhoods, hope is dimming. People like Ishmael Baba, a father displaced 11 times, says that they had begun to rebuild a rhythm of ordinary life. The truce, he said, was colored in red or blood. Shops that have reopened are closed again. The price of flour and fuel has spiked overnight. And in the ruins of Gaza City, a single misstep across an unmarked yellow line can mean death, as one family of 11 discovered when their car was shelled. Both sides insist they are acting in self-defense. Both accuse the other of deceit, and yet the tragedy is mutual. Every act of retaliation becomes a justification for the next. The war has become cyclical, theological in its fatalism, each side convinced of its righteousness, each side blind to its reflection. Tonight, hope itself is the hostage. A ceasefire cannot survive without trust, and trust has been obliterated. As one Gazan put it, the truce is on paper. On the ground, we're dying, and so Gaza waits not for peace, but for the next explosion. Hope is on a knife edge.